We question our daily position. We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We'll be taking your questions. If you have any questions on any topic, we don't need to know your name or where you're asking from. Just send in your questions on the WhatsApp, the email address. You can telephone us 0203 515 0199. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah, the technical team will be able to forward me your questions on my lovely iPad here. And inshallah, me and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer your questions. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing this evening? How's the fast going, Sheikh?
All great, alhamdulillah.
Taqabbal siyamak, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Sheikh, like always, before we begin answering the people's questions and so forth, we go through a little dua. So please, tafadhal, bismillah.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. There's a dua recited in the holy month of Ramadan which begins with اللهم إني بك ومنك أطلب حاجتي. Oh Allah, I ask my hajj, my need through you and from you. No one else I would ask except you, O Allah. ومن طلب حاجة إلى الناس فإني لا أطلب حاجتي إلا منك. And those who, or the one who asks people, begs people for their hajj, for their need, I wouldn't do this. I would only ask you and seek assistance and help from you, O Allah Azza wa Jal. In other words, we have to ask Allah Azza wa Jal if we are in trouble, in need, shortage of money, health issue, for example, any trouble, problems, anxieties, calamities, we have to go first to Allah Azza wa Jal and ask His support and help. فإني لا أطلب حاجتي إلا منك وحدك لا شريك لك. Allah is the only one, and there's no partner with Allah Azza wa Jal. He is Tawheed with this regard, that we ask only Allah Azza wa Jal with this regard. وأسألك بفضلك ورضوانك, and ask with your blessing, with your generosity, with your pleasure and acceptance, أن تصلي على محمد وأهل بيته, that you send blessings on Muhammad and his pure progeny and family. In other words, we can ask through Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, which are the wasila, وابتغوا إليه الوسيلة. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal through them. That is allowed, of course. As we said, the shafa'ah is part of our belief. Asking the Ahlul Bayt through Allah Azza wa Jal, towards Allah Azza wa Jal. So they are the means, the medium towards Allah Azza wa Jal. We can do so, but not to ask people, normal people. Beg others, la. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal. And those who He has mentioned, في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه, that Allah has specified that you can come to me through these people, these individuals, and they're the best of the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal.
Awesome. Shaykh, let's go through some of the questions that are coming in already from the WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum. Is it haram to look at the body of a non-mahram Muslim woman who wears an abaya with no lust? Like, I'm impressed that she wears an abaya. That's from the WhatsApp.
You see, one should prevent from looking into these pictures in which eventually the shaitan would pave the way towards the haram and lust. Maybe the first look or the first scenes would be fine. Well, she's fully covered, only the face and the hands. And I like the style of the abaya, for example. I'm looking for the styles. But eventually one would fall into the haram. Shaitan is waiting for this individual to get the opportunity and to basically, as a trap, to basically make this individual to fall into the haram in even a small scene which takes only 2 seconds.
Awesome. Quick reminder to all of you is that you can send in your question via the WhatsApp, the email address. If you're watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, you can put your questions in the comment section, or alternatively give us a call in the studio 0203 515 0199. And inshallah, me and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer your question. Sheikh, more questions coming in. A girl and woman allowed to wear black coat and scarf all year round, even when it's not the month of Muharram and Safar. Is it makruh?
No, for the ladies is a different issue, because the black color for the ladies would get less attraction compared to if she wears pink and red, for example. That attracts more. So no, there's no issue with ladies wearing black scarf or black manto or chador or abaya around the year. That's fine.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. What is the ruling on copying computer software, movies, audio CDs and other such alike, which bears the wording all rights reserved or copyright?
The ulama say that the copyright, if it's mentioned, then of course it has to be respected. And one is not allowed to make copies of these softwares or programs or CDs. Intellectual
property, as it's known. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. Who is Abdullah ibn Saba?
What is mentioned that, the Wahhabis accuse us of that. He is the one who created the Shia sect, in other words, Jewish and so forth. There's a debate between the ulama. Is it a true personality or no, and so forth.
From Facebook, Assalamu alaikum. When we go on ziyarah of Karbala and get khaki shafa to give hadiyah, is that allowed?
Of course, you can give hadiyah for the shifa of the others. Maybe somebody who has an ailment, for example, you would give him a shifa. You say to him, take this as a tabarruk. Of course, this is a good thing to do.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. I wanted to get your opinion on ilm al-rijal. This is from WhatsApp. I've seen it being used to weaken many hadith and even al-kafi. Unfortunately, this causes deviancy and ultimately Shias apostating. And also, if Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi uses ilm al-rijal a lot or not.
You see, the problem is between the school of the Usuli and the other school in the Shia, in which I think the Sheikh or the other ones, if you remember the names, not the Usuli school, the other
Akhbari.
Akhbari, ahsantum. There's a difference with this regard, that would they accept the ilm al-rijal, and of course our ulama for the past centuries they have using this ilm in order to find out which hadith is weak from the strong hadith, because as you know, the hands of the manipulation of those who are against Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the narrators, since the departure of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from this world, it began in that time to change the hadith, to give the fada'il to others, for example. So they started to change the hadith, to create new hadith, ascribing like to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why we used ilm al-rijal in order to distinguish between the true hadith from the wrong hadith, because otherwise you'll take all the hadith and you have conflicts between this hadith and that hadith. So you have to make sure that you use the right tool in order to find the correct hadith. Otherwise, you're going to end up with many masail you can't really choose on and make, let's say, take the fatwa, because that says haram, that says wajib, that says haram, halal, for example, and so forth. It's going to be a problem with this issue. So you have to filter these ahadith due to those who came and changed the hadith, added, subtracted, and so forth. You need that knowledge. But of course, one shouldn't go too much into this aspect, as some might do. And any hadith they see, if the sanad is weak, khalas, we reject it. No. We have many incidents, occasions, ad'iyah, ziyarat, in which some of them might have not a very strong chain of narrators, but still the ulama came with the qa'idah or with the basis of at-tasamuh fi adillat sunan, that when we receive a hadith which is about dua, ziyarah, adab, sunan, we accept it even if there is a weak narrator within that hadith, because we have narrations with this regard that what comes and you hear it, you can take it. So we shouldn't really go too much and not to ignore it. So it's something in the middle, that we use ilm al-rijal in the right time and position and in the right course, and not to ignore it totally, because we can end up with a hadith in which you can't really do anything with it. You can't issue fatwa because it conflicts with the other hadith and so forth.
Awesome. Sheikh from YouTube, salam from Jamaica. Alaikum salam to all my brothers and sisters, all my Yadi brothers and sisters. I hope the weather is really, really nice over there. And inshallah you can give us some sunshine as well. Salam from Jamaica. How much is the kafara for someone who doesn't fast? That's on YouTube.
That's a big issue, because if somebody deliberately break their fast,
or doesn't even fast.
Well, if they want to start to fast, they have to pay kafara, of course. The kafara is either to feed 60 people, poor individuals, paupers, 60, or to fast 60 consecutive days. Of course, the first month is consecutive. The second month you can separate the days. But these two are the main kafarat. Of course, we had also atiq raqaba, to free a slave, in which we don't have in this time and age. But yeah, I mean, the one should pay 60 or fast 60. That's the kafar for every single day. So if he has missed 5-10 years, then to do the mass work. So from WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum. What is the Islamic law about someone who cannot fast due to old age? Isn't there like an alternative? We mentioned before.
They can give one more.
The siyam would be على كل حال he exempted from the siyam.
They'd have to give some.
Yeah, I mean
rice, flour, dates, raisins. I think.
Yeah, there was something called fidya.
50 grams. Yeah.
Fidya for each day for not being able to fast.
Yes, that's right. Sheikh from YouTube, is it advised to wear white or black during janaza, or does it not matter?
على كل حال, I mean, one can wear black in terms of for the deceased individual who has passed away, to show his condolences, commemorations towards the family of the deceased. I mean, it's up to you, but try to avoid showing joyful, scenes and appearance.
Celebrating.
Yeah, try to respect the family of the deceased. They have lost loved ones, so you have to try to ease the situation in them.
From Facebook, Sheikhna, what should we do if the timing to stop eating at Suhoor time, so basically Fajr Adhan, for same city but two different sites, for example, Imam Ali Foundation and okay, 20 minutes apart from Facebook. Okay, so we have different Shia establishment and organizations giving different times, and sometimes the person is saying that sometimes 20 minutes apart. What do we do in these situations?
I mean, if it's 20 minutes, that's the Sunni time. Because between the Sunni and Shia, Adhan, Maghrib, it's 20 minutes. So I don't think one would break his fast 20 minutes before the official Shia time. It's very clear. Sunset is, let's say, at 7:30.
Fajr Adhan.
The Fajr Adhan.
Yeah.
You are allowed to take and follow the timetable which you think it's accurate. So choose the one that you think is accurate.
So everyone's going to choose the later one.
I mean, some people do ihtiyat, as I do, 10 minutes ihtiyat, 10, 12 minutes ihtiyat, from the actual timetable.
Yeah.
You can do ihtiyat, but it's up to you. I mean, you can follow the timetable which you trust.
Fair enough.
Should be fine.
Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum. From YouTube, I'm a teacher, assistant for children with special needs. We have a music lesson to teach them. Is it haram to teach them music? That's from YouTube.
Again, it depends on which marja you follow. In terms of the music, if it's classical, some marja said that this is allowed, and the one which is amusing, the music which is like DJ rock, played in the nightclubs, in gyms, for example, some restaurants as well, that's haram. You can't, play it or hear it. But some marja say all types of music haram. So it depends if you follow that marja. That says all the music is harmful. Of course, even playing that music would be haram as well.
Sheikhna from WhatsApp. Salam, Sheikhna.
Salam.
Many hadiths state not praying makes you kafir. Is this true? Not praying salah, not establishing salah makes you kafir.
We have to understand the meaning of kafir in this case. Tariq salah, kafir, something like that. Wordings are not accurate in terms of the hadith. there are stages of the kafir. The one who, for example, denounces and rejects Allah's Azza wa Jal, and rejects the Holy Prophet, of course that's kafir and najis as well. But when it comes to the acts of worship, for example, the kufr would be a different meaning. That, because what does kufr means? Kufr is the one who hides the truth. He doesn't show the truth. He doesn't implement the truth. He hides it. So this individual is hiding this ibadah and he doesn't implement it and apply it. So there's some kind of stage of kufr, of course, with this regard. Although he believes in Allah Azza wa Jal, the Holy Prophet, the Imams, but when it comes to salah, he just neglects praying. There are stages with the kufr, so one should avoid leaving the salah and try to pray them in time as well.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. From YouTube, are pets required to be buried? That's a good question, Sheikhna. Dead animals, do we bury dead animals?
Not really. I mean, it's not something wajib. You know, the only wajib is to bury the human beings, you know, especially the Muslims. And in terms of burial of the Muslim, that's wajib kifaya, at least. A group should take care of this Muslim body to be buried, washed, and so forth.
From YouTube, can we use nasal sprays or asthma inhalers during fasting?
With regards to nasal sprays, because of the spray includes liquid, and you can easily feel it in your throat, then that of course would basically break the fast. But with the inhalers, it seems to be, because it's being as a gas inhaler, it should be fine. As I've said before, if it's like a gas, it should be fine, the inhalers. But if it's thick dust, of course, that would also break the fast.
I see. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu rahmatullah.
Because there's a lot from YouTube, I'm thinking the earliest one. Okay. Will there be slaves when the Mahdi appears because of jihad?
I think we answered this question yesterday, that
we don't think slavery is
time
coming back.
the Imam Salamullah alayhi would overwhelm Islam as a religion, and he would fight minorities who are stubborn, mu'anid. And the majority would believe in the Imam Salamullah. As we said, when the Isa alayhi salam descends, the Christians majority would believe in the Imam Salamullah because of this act of Isa alayhi salam, praying behind the Imam Salamullah alayhi.
Assalamu alaikum from YouTube. If you are a female, how do you do kafara if you are not able to do 30 days in a row for the first month? Oh, good question actually. So obviously, like you said, kafara is 60 days. You have to do 30 days consecutively. But for a lady, you know, the menses cycle and so forth, what happens to them? Do they, those days they don't fast and then they continue their 30 days after?
It seems to me the hukum is different, yes. The hukum is not exactly as the men. The hukum is different because they're compelled with the situation that every month she has 5, 6, 7 days in the middle. So there's a specific hukum for them, of course.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu rahmatullah.
I think what is better. What is Islam's view on celibacy? Celibacy is staying away from marriage. There is a huge benefit with semen retention. That's from YouTube.
That's against the sunnah of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he said, "An-nikah sunnati," that this is the nikah and the marriage is part of my sunnah. And he got married to many wives.
Yes.
And he even married Fatima to Ali alayhi salam, and they had Hassan and Hussein salam alayhim. This is pure progeny of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, this is wrong, totally wrong.
From YouTube, is it? Assalamu alaikum. If you are moving to another city for studies during Ramadan, is it permissible? Then make the days after.
So for study?
If you are moving to another city for studies during Ramadan, is it permissible? Thank you for. Okay, so sometimes, for example, if Ramadan is in September, where a lot of students will move to different universities and so forth, so they're traveling back and forth and so forth, is it okay for them to do so, or should they wait and do it after Ramadan?
No, you can travel, but when you go there and that place becomes your residence, يعني your watan, your second residence place, watan, that's it. You fast and you pray in full as well.
Nice. From YouTube again, do you have any organizations to recommend that we can pay our kafara to? From YouTube.
I mean, you can speak to the offices of the Maraja to see if...
Imam was saying charity, I'm sure they'll be able to help you. Definitely. Inshallah. Checking from WhatsApp. When we read Quran, there's always some ayat which have a sajda and are required to perform sajda immediately, or can we perform sajda later? So there are 4 mustahab sajdas to recite, and there's 4 wajib ones as well, Sheikh, when we recite Quran. Do we do it straight away, or do we have some time?
Yes, you have to do it straight away.
Oh,
when you hear the ayat al-sajda al-wajiba in Surah al-sajda, Surah Fussilat, Surah
Najm.
al-alaq and Najm,
Yeah.
you have to straight away do the sajda, yes.
Sheikh, what are the rulings for vomiting in the month of Ramadan?
Basically, if somebody who is fasting in the daytime of the month of Ramadan and they intentionally vomit, or they take some kind of a pill or tablet, something that due to illness they have to throw out, and eventually they throw out vomit, of course the siyam and the fast will be void and batil. Of course there's no kafara, but of course the fast for that day would be batil and they have to make it up later.
I see. If one inadvertently swallows something and before it reaches his throat remembers he is fasting, what should he do?
If it's possible for this individual to throw out,
Spit it out.
spit it out, that should be fine, and the fast will be valid in this case.
And what is the ruling for a janub who knows if he sleeps he would not wake up until Fajr Adhan?
Yes, somebody who is in the state of janaba, it's wajib for him to wash before the Fajr time. It's very important, especially for the couples, married couples. They have to make sure they don't sleep unless they wash. If they know that, they won't wake up. Some people have a very heavy sleep. You know, you have to push them to wake them up for the salah.
Kick them out of the bed.
Yeah, that's the problem. So in this case, it's wajib for them to wash before they sleep. Otherwise, if they sleep intentionally, they know that they won't wake up. They just ignore. Let me sleep. I'm tired. I don't have the time to wash. It's cold, for example. In this case, the sawm will be batil, and there's a kafara as well.
Ahsant. Sheikhna, a nice long question here from Switzerland, believe it or not. Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, we currently live in Switzerland. My parents live in a city back in Pakistan, my home country. And we also have a house in our ancestral village where my parents spend a lot of time. And we visit for some days, as well as when we go to Pakistan. We also own considerable land in our ancestral village. What is the ruling regarding prayers and fasts if both these places for us? Our visits are usually less than 10 days at each place. I have not spent any major continuous time in both places in Pakistan, but I do visit them regularly, once or twice a year. Is it possible for me to consider one or both of these places as a watan, so I can fast and pray full? Thank you. Thanks a lot. Jazakallah khair.
I mean, yes, indeed, if you consider Pakistan or your village as a watan, as your first homeland, and Switzerland or the UK or the US or Canada is your second homeland, of course, whenever you go to that homeland, you for let's say summer holidays, Christmas, whatever period you go for the holidays, you pray there and you fast as well in full. Pray in full and fast as well. And we have the same situation when we go back to Iraq, to Karbala, my homeland. I would pray in full, for example. That's my first homeland, for example. Unless what I do, as mentioned, the fiqh is i'rad. I'rad means to denounce that Iraq or Iran or Pakistan is no longer my homeland. My only homeland is the UK, or the US, or Switzerland, or Norway, or Sweden. That's my only homeland. In this case, if there's i'rad, denouncing your first homeland, even if you were born there, you have a house there, but it's no longer your homeland. I no longer live in that place. Of course, now it becomes, whenever you go there, you pray qasr. However, could be some differences with regards to ulama's opinions. And anyhow, this is how it works, that you have first homeland and second homeland, and you have i'rad or you don't have i'rad.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum. When I have money in a bank and the bank deposits interest on it, can I take the interest? This is very common for banks to use your money to make profit, and then they give you an interest rate on top. So it's hardly anything. Sometimes it's only like 50p or something like that. But it still is interest on top of your account, which you receive. Are you allowed to receive that money from the bank?
Yes, you have to pay. You have to pay khumus on this interest later on. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Sheikh, from YouTube, can you deliver food groceries as a career partner during Shahr Ramadan? Good question that. So imagine if you're working for there's a supermarket or so forth, and you're a courier and you're actually doing deliveries and stuff, people shopping and so forth. According to Islam, during the holy month of Ramadan, are you still allowed to transport this food to the customers?
What's wrong with it? Why not?
Because I think what this person is doing is they're seeing that, okay, you shouldn't have your restaurant open to serve food, but I'm technically delivering food. So, but it's not cooked though. It's just
No, serving food, that's the problem. Like the restaurants, that they would put on your table to serve somebody with let's say with half chicken and rice and so forth. You're actually serving that individual in the daytime of Ramadan and to break his fast. That's which is not allowed.
From WhatsApp, can women wearing hijab attend a mixed engagement party where there will be music and so forth, but they'll just sit at a table and not dance?
You see, one should avoid attending such majalis or such gatherings in which there's a mixed gathering. Haram would be committed in somehow from either this side or the other side. And of course, listening to the music is haram. They're playing the songs, for example, and the songs in weddings. So it's problematic. If one can, preserve her hijab, for example, or the male, for example, not to look at the opposite gender. Of course, they come with beautification. They're not going to come like the Fatiha. No, there's going to be beautification on the face, makeup, and so forth. It's problematic, to be honest. Yeah.
From YouTube, I love Ahkam SOS. My question is, can I eat lobsters? We love you too here. Sheikh, can we eat lobsters?
No, it's forbidden.
Yes.
Only the scales fish is allowed, and the exception is with prawns, that you can eat prawns.
Ahsan. WhatsApp, Sheikh. What is Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi's, Hafidhullah, ruling on men wearing masculine earrings to show off to his wife and in general?
Overall, one should avoid such wearing. It's not suitable for a man to wear such earrings. One should avoid.
Okay. From YouTube, why do we combine the prayers? For example, Dhuhr and Asr, Maghrib and Isha.
I think I've answered this many times in the previous episodes with Ahkam, that Ahlul Sunnah narrate in their books, in their hadith, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he combined the two salah without any reason, such as rain, because they said if there's rain, if there's travel, then you can combine. But he did it in Medina, as they narrate in their books, without any reason. So that's why we combine the salah.
I see. Ahsan. From YouTube as well, Sheikh, when we are reading Quran and the ayah requires sajda, I think we've answered this one, sajda, are we supposed to do it immediately?
Yeah,
yes, you are, the wajib ones especially. From WhatsApp, very interesting question, Sheikh. Do plants have souls? As in ruh?
Souls.
Spirits.
The Holy Quran states that everything does tasbih to Allah Azza wa Jal.
Yes.
Yusabbih. Everything. Even the pebbles do tasbih.
The Akik ring.
Everything does tasbih in this creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. There is some kind of cognition, but each creation of Allah Azza wa Jal has its own type of cognition to Allah Azza wa Jal. So tasbih of the rock, of the pebbles, of the sea, everything does tasbih.
From Facebook, Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on buying property via bank finance? I think bank finance, maybe some mortgage. I don't think they're asking for a loan. But yeah, mortgage for purchasing a house.
First house, which is needed, is allowed, but the second, third is problematic for investment.
Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, from YouTube. Is tahrib from a country to country haram? because you would be tricking the country you are going to go to. Like if I'm Iraqi and I want to live in Germany and get citizenship there.
I mean, the Western world has opened its borders for the immigration, as you've seen for the past many years. Now they have opened their borders for the Ukrainians to apply for, residency and so forth. So they have already opened their gates and borders for the immigration. Anyhow, one should observe in terms of the laws and legislation of that country. But I mean, they've already opened since 30, 40 years. That we've seen millions of Muslims, they have migrated to the Western world from the Eastern world.
I see. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. From YouTube, is it true that according to Islamic law, a rapist should be stoned to death, even though it is a barbaric way to punish someone?
You see, nowadays, the ulama would say that we cannot implement these punishments because there's no just system, Islamic system today in the world. There's no just ruler today leading the Muslim Ummah. So nothing can be implemented for these purposes and reasons that there's no justice in the Islamic world. There's oppression, there's suppression, there are political prisoners and so forth. You can't implement these ahkam at all. As I've said before, that in order to implement one of these ahkam, you need at least 30 to 40 conditions in order to implement this ahkam. And that doesn't exist today. So it's almost impossible to implement these ahkam nowadays.
From Facebook, Assalamu alaikum, is tattoos allowed on our bodies?
Yes, allowed.
And doesn't affect the wudu or ghusl or anything like that?
If it's inside the skin, not over the skin, like a layer, like let's say sticker, for example, or paint, for example.
Then that's problematic. Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. From YouTube, is it permissible for a Muslim to eat with a non-Muslim on the same plate, and they are forcing you to eat with them on the same plate at school? Depends what's on the plate, really, isn't it?
No, number one, it depends. If that individual follows the marja' who says Ahlul Kitab are tahir, and that non-Muslim is Ahlul Kitab, then he's tahir, sorted. But if he wasn't Ahlul Kitab, then of course the najasa would be, if there's a najasa, if there's a moisture, it's problematic.
I see.
It's going to transfer the najasa to the other side of the dish.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I'm flying tomorrow 3 hours before Maghrib. Do I keep my fast before, or can I eat from the morning on the day?
No, you have to make the intention of fasting on that day. All the way you fast, you have the Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr, you're in your country, in your city. You keep the Sawm all the way. You can't break it.
Fair enough. Sheikhna, from YouTube, Assalamu alaikum. Can we keep a cat as a pet in the house? Does it have to do anything with tahara?
Yes, you can keep. That's fine.
They're not considered najis, are they? Cats?
No, unless it's droppies in.
Okay,
yeah,
obviously urine.
They have to go.
Stools. But I think the only implication is salah, to make sure there's no cat hair on you while you're praying. That's probably the only thing.
It's a major problem, to be honest. Some people complain that we have to spend 1 hour to clean our clothes with the cat hair. So that's the issue with the salah. Yeah, problem.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. From YouTube, will all non-Muslims go to hell? Really good question, actually.
No, I've said this before, that Allah Azza wa Jal is merciful and Rahim. He created his creation in order to pour His mercy on them. لِيَرْحَمَهُمْ. Majority of people are ignorant in terms of knowing the right path, the haqq. That's why most of the people are qasir. In other words, they don't know the truth. Muqassir has different hukum. Muqassir is somebody who knows, but he ignores to look for the right path. But majority of people are qasir. They don't know, they are jahil in terms of the truth. if they die in this world, Allah Azza wa Jal would set a testing session in the hereafter, in the Qiyamah. If they pass, they will join us, the Muslims, inshallah, in paradise. Otherwise, they will go to hell. But they won't be all punished because they passed away or died because of being non-Muslims.
Okay, Sheikhna from YouTube. Do animals have an afterlife? Jazakallah khair.
It seems to be not really, unless for the hisab, وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, as it is mentioned in the Surah Al-Takwir, I think, in which they would take, let's say this animal killed that animal innocently without any reason, and that animal takes his or her rights from this animal. But there's no, afterlife for the animals. They want to go to paradise or hell, for example, like the human beings. It's a different situation for them. We have some animals that will join, I think, like the dog of the Ashab al-Kahf, maybe.
Yeah.
There's something mentioned, few animals.
Fair enough. Sheikh from YouTube as well. Is it haram for women and girls to use red and white fabrics, which usually wear for men head covers, but not dress like men?
What is important that it doesn't attract. It's not attractive for the opposite gender, because we have some cultures. I've seen some cultures. They wear, red scarf, for example, or light, let's say light color scarf. That's within their culture. Like in Africa, for example, in Somalia, I think. Yeah. They wear light hijab, for example. This is something for their culture. It's fine. But somebody in the middle of, let's say, majority wearing black, somebody wears red and yellowish, for example. It's a bit, one should be careful with it,
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna from YouTube. If I'm traveling from the UK to Mecca for 5 days and then to Medina for 5 days, can I fast in Ramadan?
Not at all. You have to break your fast. You're a musafir, and shorten your salah as well in Mecca and Medina as well. So you're musafir.
From YouTube, I love to go to another planet. Do people other than humans live in space? That's a really good question. We have something about different universes and other creations of Allah.
That there is 1,000 Adam like your Adam. There's something mentioned in the narrations, but we haven't access to more than that.
I know you're going to enjoy this one, Sheikhna. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. If we pray Taraweeh, but in the way our Shias pray, is it valid?
Initially, Taraweeh, by the statement of Umar ibn Khattab, he said that ni'matul bid'at hadih, that this is a bid'ah which is a good bid'ah. So he confesses that this is a bid'ah that he came up with as a Khalifat Rasulullah, as a declaring to be the one who can actually legislate Sharia, being as a Khalifa. So he came with this salah, where the Holy Prophet ﷺ never prayed his nawafil, his mustahab salah in jama'ah. So this is the bid'ah of Umar ibn Khattab, in which he made it up for whatever is the reason. But in anyhow, this salah is batil. You cannot pray it, and it's haram to pray it. وَكُلُّ بِدْعَ ضَلَالَةٍ وَكُلُّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ, as the Ahlul Sunnah narrate this piece of narration, that yes, it's all in hellfire now.
Sheikhna from Facebook, I'm watching from Medina. Assalamu alaikum to all our viewers in Saudi. And he does, yes, and then the city of the Prophet. Can I make dua towards the Prophet and ask him for like health, work, and anything? So I guess this is to do with intercession and
exactly.
So forth.
That's purely allowed. There's no issue with it, as long as you ask Allah through Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ. Don't forget this verse, that seek Allah through the means. We ask Allah through the Holy Quran, through the Kaaba. We touch the Kaaba, we kiss the Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone. Oh Allah, forgive us. We ask Allah through this black stone and a piece of the curtain on the Kaaba, that Ya Allah, forgive us. We are here in your house, in this sacred place. Forgive us. So yes, whatever is accepted as being a means, a wasila, we can do so, because the objective is Allah Azza wa Jal, nobody else. وحده لا شريك له. At the end of the day.
What was the Quranic ayah you mentioned?
وابتغوا إليه الوسيلة.
Where can we find this?
I can't remember the ayah, but it's
Okay,
very
inshallah,
clear.
next
Yeah.
time. Inshallah. There's a really good question here, Sheikh, I wanted to ask you. It's a bit lower. It's from YouTube. How does God relate to time? Because time is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is outside time. Time does not affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor does that the dimension of the heavens. There is no such thing as time, or the concept of time. So how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relate to time?
If we understand the notion of creator and the creation, and anything that goes below the creator is created from time, from the Holy Quran, from the universe, everything is being created. And it's only Allah Azza wa Jalla who is not a creation or part of the creation. So even time is part of the creation, and Allah is outside, the words are right to say, outside the creation. He's not, nothing can limit Allah Azza wa Jalla, basically.
Yes.
Nothing can limit, no time, no boundary or place can limit Allah Azza wa Jalla. He's outside all these.
Ahsantum. Got more and more questions coming in from YouTube. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I would like to ask if I'm allowed to do latam during the month of Muharram with the kind of expression of like pst, 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 well, PST, and like rapping, so it sounds like me. Okay, this must be Shur, I think he's talking about. Music, what I saw in Karbala during Noha. So I think they're talking about Shur. And obviously there's some vocal effects that come with Shur. Is this acceptable? Is this allowed?
You try to say Hussein, Hussein. So you try to basically enhance the way it's been said. You say Hussein, Hussein.
Okay.
And do your latam, inshallah. May Allah accept your latam.
Inshallah. We're quite big fans of Shur, to be honest, in the channel. From YouTube, Sheikhna, is it obligatory for me to do Hajj even though I wouldn't have any more savings left after?
You see, with regards to the istita'a for the Hajj, capability for the Hajj, you have to make sure that you have money, the means to travel, and when you come back home, you have the means to pay your livings and do your livings and pay for your bills and so forth. So you have to make sure, even for the comeback, when you come back home, you have something.
Okay, inshallah. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I do not have a Shia mosque near my house, but I do have a Sunni mosque. Can I go there to pray?
Yes, you can do so, but not to follow their Imam Jama'ah. So pray separately before or after the Salah, and that should be fine.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it okay to wipe your socks with a wet hand while taking ablution instead of removing your socks and wash your leg at school or at work? From YouTube. This may be from someone who is of the Sunni school of thought, not even from our school of thought. So please, Sheikhna, please tell us the Jafri fiqh on doing a mas'ah on top of your socks and doing wudu.
The Quran is very clear. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ.
Surah
امسح, wipe on your head and your feet. So you have to wipe on the feet and not on the socks or on your shoes, on the feet itself. فاغسلوا, wash your face and both arms, and then masih, don't wash your head or your feet. It's against the Quran. Don't wash it. The Quran is very clear. فامسحوا, امسح, wipe on your head and your feet. Don't wash it. That is batil. The wudu is batil.
Ahsan, Sheikhana. From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhana.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Do we believe in any hadith that are in Sahih Bukhari?
Well, lots of conflicted hadith in Sahih Bukhari, which we don't accept, of course, against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, against Ahlul Bayt, against. That's really not accepted. Of course, some hadith in which is in line with our hadith, we accept it. For example, there's a hadith in Sahih Bukhari which says that Allah would be pleased if Fatima is pleased, and He would be angry if Fatima is angry. We have this in our hadith, so we accept it, for example, and so forth. If the hadith is in line with the Shia hadith, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, doesn't conflict with the Quran and the Sunnah and the hadith, we accept it.
Shaykh, final question for this evening from YouTube. Salam Sheikh, I get
Salam.
very filthy dreams. What should I do? Let's say these dreams are of a sexual nature. I'm assuming this person's saying. We have, I think, when it comes to dreams and so forth, certain dreams are good and certain dreams are bad. And most dreams are just subjective to the individual and maybe from what they're experiencing throughout their day and so forth and things like that. But you know, having dreams where maybe you see naked images and things like that, Islamically speaking, is this bad? Is this good? Is this okay? What's the ruling?
Basically, one should avoid eating heavy dinner or at night before sleeping. That's number one. And number two, to recite the ayat al-Quran, such as Qul Huwallahu Ahad, for example, 3 times. To recite the Qul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq an-Nas, Ma'udhatayn, Ayatul Kursi, Ad'iyah before sleep. Try to find these ad'iyah in Mafatih al-Jinan. Inshallah, this will inshallah repel such evil dreams or bad dreams, inshallah.
Inshallah. Sheikh, final thoughts before we end the show.
وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ. Seek means towards Allah Azza wa Jal, and the best means and wasila are Muhammad wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi.
Salaamu alayhi. Thank you so much, Sheikhna, for all your efforts and for your research. I think the viewers don't, we don't give justice to Sheikhna, that Sheikhna is non-stop researching, for your answers. He's always reading, he's always back and forth with all, the official offices and representatives of the Maraja, and he does a lot of background work for these shows. I mean, for him to answer questions on the top of his head like this doesn't happen, overnight. It takes a lot of time and dedication. So Sheikh, thank you for all your efforts, and thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If I didn't answer your question, I do apologize, and we're going to roll them over to tomorrow's episode, inshallah. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please send it via the WhatsApp, the email address. If you're watching on Facebook Live, on YouTube, put it in the comment section. Inshallah, we'll be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. Me and Sheikh will be back tomorrow at 5:10 London time, so 5:10 p.m. London time, on Imam Hussein TV3, Sky Channel 789. See you then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
What
over
does Islam
the
establish
graves?
based on peace
Is
and
it permissible
non-violence?
to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv.
This holy month of Ramadan, we bring you the biggest talent show for the Shia community. A fantastic opportunity has been given to the contestants to introduce their voice to the world.